Are you a nurse? Have you ever thought about becoming a travel nurse, or have a family and thought about becoming a travel nurse family? That's what we are. We're a travel nurse family. We've been living in our fifth wheel for over 2 years now, and I wanted to give you the good, the bad, the ugly, and the awesomeness that comes along with being a full-time travel nurse family. So if you're interested in becoming one or thought about it, stay tuned. You're gonna wanna watch this. What's going on, everyone? My name is Jeremy and welcome to Happiness Travels. So are you a nurse and been thinking about becoming a travel nurse? Well, we've been doing this for a while now, and we live full-time in our RV for over 2 years now and traveled through 24 different states, over 30,000 miles, and man, it has been a great time. There's been ups, there's been downs, and everything in between. But I wanted to give you guys a little bit of insight if you're thinking about becoming a travel nurse. Now that's, of course, if you're already a nurse. And there is travel nursing for RNs, LVNs. They even have travel jobs for CNAs, which I had no idea, but everywhere we've been, they hire travel CNAs as well. So if you're a CNA and been thinking about doing this as well, give it a shot. So I'm going to tell you why we became a travel nurse family and how we became a travel nurse family, because there's a lot of steps to take if you're going to do a full-time travel nurse family like we are in an RV. They do have housing and things like you can get at certain things, which I'll get into a little bit later. But for us, let me tell you how we became a travel nurse family. And first off, I am not the nurse. My wife is the nurse. She is the amazing travel nurse, and I am the dad. I am the Mr. Mom. I am the homeschool teacher. I am the explorer. I take care of the kids, the dogs, everything else. And she goes to work and makes the moolah. So why did we become a travel nurse family? So a few years back, I'd say 2017, 2018, I was kind of throwing out jokes like, hey, we should just hit the road, sell our house, hit the road, it's gonna be awesome. And I even thought, hey, you know what, I'm gonna make a YouTube channel on it. This is gonna be great because we got triplets and it's gonna be awesome. Well, then come to find out there's already like 5 or 6, main YouTube travel families that are out there at the time. And nowadays, anyone who buys an RV has a travel channel thing. But hey, cool, good for you, that's awesome. I mean, that's what I'm doing right now, I guess. So yeah, I would make comments like, hey, we should just travel in the RV. Let's just sell the house and let's go travel. Well, to me, I like to travel. I've always grown up camping. I've always had a cab over camper, a travel trailer, a fifth wheel, something my whole entire life. I love traveling. I love exploring and going places and doing things. My wife, she's kind of on the other end of it. She doesn't like camping anymore. She grew up camping all the time. Now she says she hates camping. So anyway, she'd always laugh and be like, yeah, right over my dead body. I'm never doing that. Well, a few years later, you guys remember all that pesky little virus that was floating around, the whole COVID thing? Well, at the time we lived in California, and the Californians kicked them right out of school, and we had to homeschool. So then it was a choice of, what are we doing? Because I'm working full-time, she's working full-time. So when the kids got kicked out of school, we had to make a decision. Okay, well, someone's got to stay home and watch the kids. My wife absolutely adores our kids, loves them to death, but she was just like, I am not staying home and homeschooling the kids. So guess who's doing it? Ha, it's me. So once we started homeschooling, I actually set up, in our house, we had, I called it like 2 living rooms. We had 2 living rooms. And in one of our living rooms, I actually set up a classroom. We bought some tables, I set it up, because we have triplets. We have triplets that at the time were 10, 11, or 13 now. But anyway, so I set up a full classroom in our living room, and it was awesome. I took it seriously. Every day we had a schedule. We got up and we're doing school by 9 o'clock. Anyways, it was awesome and it worked. And while the kids were in the school, we have an older toy hauler, and we decided what we would do is me and the kids could start doing some road schooling, meaning we're already stuck at home, right? Why do we want to be stuck at home every day? That's no fun. So we've started going on adventures and traveling. We went down to hot springs in the desert, into Nevada, Southern California. We went up to the coast, and oh man, the Lost Highway. We went on some great adventures, just me and the kids, because my wife had to stay home and work and stuff, and she loved it. She loved that we were doing this since we were kind of forced to be home and homeschool our kids. Well, we're just going to make the best of this situation. So that's what we did. Me and the kids, we went traveling. We had all kinds of fun. So when the kids got kicked out of school and I had to stay home and homeschool, it's kind of what got the ball rolling to where we were like, already planning on moving out of California, wanted to go somewhere else, not sure where we wanted to go. So we said, hey, I re-brought in that whole thing again, like, hey babe, so we want to sell the house, I'm home with the kids, what about some travel nurse stuff? And it kind of sparked a little interest in her, and she was like, nah, maybe. So a maybe to me was like, all right, we might do this, we might actually get to travel, yes! So after doing some research and finding out there was actually quite a bit of those jobs out there, and the pay was pretty good. She could go to making as much as we were when we were both working with just her working. So the wheels were turning in motion, and I knew I had her. Even though she said she'd never do it, even though she doesn't like camping, which this isn't camping. Our little term is we're not camping, we're living. Because we are. We have a tiny house on wheels here. This is not, it's not camping when you have a TV, a refrigerator, a bathroom, a shower, a stove, like everything you have in your house, we have. It's just on a smaller scale, which I tell you what, it's a whole lot easier to clean because you don't have a big old house to clean. So, bonus right there. But I knew once my wife piqued an interest in this that it was like, okay, we could actually make this happen. And that's what we did. I spent a lot of the time. My wife doesn't like doing research and all that kind of stuff, so that's fine. I do research. I overdo research on stuff, whether it's old history stuff, when we're traveling somewhere or whatever. I'm the one that does all the research, all the planning, all that, and she appreciates that because she doesn't like doing that at all. So I started looking into all the travel nurse stuff and what we needed to do. So after I'm starting all my research and stuff, she has a California nurse's license. So that restricts you to just California because California is not part of the compact. So since a California license can only work in California, we knew that we wanted to go somewhere to where we could get a compact license. A compact license is a group of states that work together, and if you have a license in one of those states, you can then work in those other states. And I don't remember offhand how many there are, but I want to say there's like 20 plus, maybe 30 states that are involved in this, so it's really cool. So along with the whole full-time travel nurse gig that we're looking at, we also had to figure out, okay, if we're not going to stay in California, where are we going to go and where are we going to have a home base? Because that plays key, because wherever you say is my home base or your home state, that's your license. So what we ended up doing is we became South Dakota residents through America's Mailbox in Rapid City. And there's going to be a whole nother video on that, because now that we have done this and been and had a South Dakota license and all that for over a year now, and I've changed services with them. Anyways, I'm going to give you guys a video on that if you're thinking of becoming a South Dakota resident through America's Mailbox in Rapid City. It's awesome. It's been working for us, but, well, we'll leave that to another video. And since we knew we wanted to move out of California, we also took this opportunity to go, hey, by doing this and becoming a travel nurse family, we can now go explore the United States, go to all these places that we've never been and see, hey, where do we want to land? Where do we want to buy a house? Because we know at some point that's what we want to do. We want to get a house, but we don't know where yet. We don't know what states. You know, we've only can hear what you hear from someone else's opinion or see what you see on TV, but until you actually go to those states and actually see them in person, you can't really make a choice. I would never just go, okay, I'm going to move to this state and move to that state. I got to go check out that state. I got to go see what kind of the schools are. I got to go see what's going on there, because there's a lot of kookiness out there these days. So where we end up, you know, plays a big part in that kind of stuff, and I want a nice, safe, secure place for my family, my kids. You know, I want a good school. I don't want a bunch of garbage going on in the school. So anyways, this gives us that opportunity to travel around, see all these different states, and see where we possibly want to buy our next house. So that's our end goal by doing this, and why we're becoming a travel nurse family. You know, it's not just the COVID and all that stuff that kind of forced us and kind of led us to this decision, but we're just taking advantage of it, making the best of it, having all kinds of fun along the way, and figuring out where are we going to buy our next house. And that's what we're doing. So each place we go, we're just seeing where we want to live, where we want to go. Yes, we like this. No, we don't like this. And we'll figure it out. So that is why we are doing this. Now, how did we do this? Because there's a lot involved with doing this. So the how do you become a travel nurse? Well, it depends on what state you live in. Like for us, at the time we lived in California, so we were stuck to California, because California is not part of the compact state license, which the compact state license has multiple states that all work together. You can use one license and work in those states, which is awesome. And that's what we have now. But at the time, we just had the California. So if you're stuck in a state, that is not a compact state and you want to go to a different state, you need to go and get a license for that state. Like originally we got one from New Mexico because we thought, hey, we're going to go to New Mexico, check it out, let's do this. But the process was just taking a while. And by the time we ended up getting that license, the jobs that we were looking at were gone, because the jobs that come up, they go pretty quick. They're normally up for a week, maybe two. It just depends. Some only up a couple days. But anyways, so those jobs that we were looking at in New Mexico were gone. So now we have a New Mexico license, which we can go if we decide and we find another job we want, or we can travel within California. Typically, you have to be over 50 miles away from the job. So say I lived in Placerville, California, because that's about where we lived, and I wanted a job in, or my wife wanted a job in Sacramento. You can't do that because we're shorter than 50-mile distance away. But let's say we wanted a job in Eureka over on the coast. Now that we could do a travel nurse contract and go do that. And the benefits to the travel nurse contract is going to be the stipends, the pay that they give you, all that kind of stuff, which I'll go into that in just a little bit. But so the license is going to be one of your first things you need to figure out. And for us, we already knew we wanted to go to multiple states. So we knew compact license is what we had to do. So we became South Dakota residents. My wife first got her South Dakota license the same way we got the New Mexico license. She paid the fee, did that, paid California to send the information over to South Dakota. Once we had that, she got a South Dakota license. And after she got the South Dakota license, that doesn't make her a compact state nurse license, if that makes sense. Just because she has a South Dakota, our residence was still in California at the time, so it's not a compact license. You have to live in the compact state. And that's why we became South Dakota residents. And now that we are South Dakota residents, my wife's license is now a compact license. And now that it makes us available to all these other states that we've been in. Like currently, we're up in Montana. Pretty cool. It's a nice state. We're here in the springtime, summertime, so the weather is good. But even though this is one of the most prettiest, awesome states that I've been to, the snow around here gets pretty crazy. So our next contract, we're not going to be staying in Montana. We're not going to extend this contract or anything like that. We're going to be going to a different state. Don't know where yet, but that's to come. So that's what you need to figure out. Are you in a compact state? Do you want to move to a compact state? Is there only a specific state you would like to go work in? If so, and you don't have that license, you can just go to that state, get that license. The fees vary a little bit from what we've seen, anywhere from $100 to $200 to get the license in that state. And then they just need to verify from the state license that you already have. And with California, that ran us about $140, I believe. And it took California about 3 months to get all that done and sent in to where we could get our other license. So just know that going into it. You need to figure out what states you want to work in. My best advice that I could give you is if you actually want to travel, or you're considering getting an RV like we did and actually hitting the different states and travel, go get a license in a compact state. Which for anyone who does the full-time RV stuff, you know that Florida, South Dakota, and Texas are probably the 3 main states where it's easier for RV living and to become a domicile in that one of those states. For us, we chose South Dakota because of all the tax stuff, because of all the schooling stuff for homeschool. They just, before we became this, they passed some new laws, made it very good, and they have very good homeschool laws now. And there's no vehicle inspections, none of that kind of stuff. So I don't have to worry about smog in our truck. I don't have to even be there to register it. I can do it all online. So once you've picked a state and either got a license in that state or you became a resident in one of the compact states and now you have a compact state license, you start looking for all these jobs. They're all over the internet. And what you're going to have to do, and this is where it's going to be a little time consuming, is you got to go on and you got to sign up with different recruiters, different travel agencies. And there are a lot out there. I mean, there is a lot. My wife has spent countless hours signing up. That's probably the thing she hates the most, is finding a new company where she found a job online and she wants to apply for it. Well, now she's got to sign up through that travel agency, and she's already signed up to probably, like, no joke, at least 15 different travel agencies. But that's what you need to do if you want to be in the loop and get all the insight and get them getting a hold of you with jobs, because now they get a hold of us all the time offering jobs, letting her know what's out there. Plus, we look on the internet and we search all the different search engines and look around for what's out there. And once we find it, if it's already with some place that she has, she just screenshots it, sends it, says, hey, she sends it to them and says, hey, I'm interested in this job. What can we do? And then they'll go back and forth, we'll get all the info, whatever, or they'll reach out to us and say, hey, we got this job coming up, it's gonna be in Idaho for this amount, you know, are you interested? So you're gonna wanna sign up with multiple agencies, don't just stick with one. And I'll tell you what, they all have different fees, because we have seen numerous times where a certain company has posted a job. And let's just say, this is just an example, let's just say the job's $2,000 a week that they're offering. Well, if you go look on another website for a company that has that same job at the same place, and they're offering $2,500 a week. So the different companies take out different fees, because we have actually talked to someone, they gave us a price, and we said, hey, you know what, that's a pretty decent price. Well, then we've had another person from a different agency reach out, offer us the same job at a higher price, because these companies, these hospitals and all these places that we've been working at, or my wife's been working at, you know, they have multiple agencies. They don't just go with one. They don't just say, hey, you put this out there, find me someone. They send it out to multiple places, and now all these different places are looking for people so they can get hired and get people sent to them. So you want to be involved with multiple agencies, because it's going to help you find a job and a whole lot faster and get you the best pay. Now for us, we live in our 40-foot fifth wheel that we call Heidi. Heidi has been amazing. It is our home on wheels, our tiny home on wheels. We have everything we need. Yes, you have to, you know, compromise on certain things, because obviously this isn't as big as a regular sticks and bricks house, but we have everything we need. So if you're traveling in an RV, there is a lot of good things and benefits to do for that, but there are also companies that also provide housing. So with the job, they might have X amount, let's just, for example, again, let's just say $2,000 a week. They have $2,000 a week, plus they offer company paid housing. So if you're a single person and you don't have an RV or don't want to travel in an RV, but you want to go, and they'll normally put you in an apartment or something like that, or some of the facilities even have in-house living at the facility. Like, we've been to a couple hospitals, my wife hasn't done it, but they've had other travelers that are actually living at the hospital. Which, you know, you never get a break from work then if you're sleeping there too, so. But that is an option, so just know that. But for us, what we do is we normally, when we're researching, I do most of the research. You know, my wife talks to the recruiters, and if I find a job, I give it to her. She'll get a hold of the recruiter, get it all worked out. We'll get the pay worked out, and then I start looking around going, okay, this is a good possibility. Where are we gonna stay? So now I have to start looking like, hey, where are we gonna park the RV? Is it an RV park? Is it a camping spot? Is it, because there is a lot of different places, and if you've ever traveled at all or been to different states, the prices are like, whew, all over the place. I'll give you an example. One of the first contracts we did was in Pierre, South Dakota. And it was $600 a month for the RV spot, which included water, electric, everything. Free Wi-Fi, great Wi-Fi too. And anyways, it worked out great. It was $600 a month for everything. Her facility was less than 2 miles away. It worked out great, and that actually was our very first travel contract. So it was a good experience to get in there and actually get a taste of what we're getting involved in. So the $600 a month, not bad at all. You know, that's not bad at all when you're getting a pretty good paycheck every week. $600, very doable. But there are some places where we've been checking, and now they want $1,200 to $1,400 a month. $1,200 to $1,400 a month. Now that's getting a little pricey. Unless the contract's like really good, maybe it's another $1,000 higher than what you're typically used to. So say you were used to $2,000 and now you found a job that's $3,000. Well, if that works in your plans and that works with your financial situation and what you got going on, cool. Go get that $1,400 spot. But for us, I just can't see spending $1,400 a month on an RV site when you're packed in like sardines. And that's not my favorite thing. I don't like RV parks. Nothing against them really, but I don't want to just be stuck next to other trailers, you know, that are 10 feet apart for months and months and months. We did it on our first contract, did it on our second contract. Now we're doing other things a little bit different, which I'll get into a little bit later because that's a whole different video and I wanted to share with you guys because there's a whole lot more to this whole RV travel. Now, if you're just going to go stay in an apartment, stay at a facility, it's going to be a little bit more streamlined for you, but it also depends if you have a family. Like, do you have a family that's going to travel with you? Or is it just one of you, the husband, wife, mom, dad, whatever, just goes out and goes, maybe flies to a different state and stays there, stays in an apartment, stays whatever works, and the other person stays home, takes care of the kids, or everyone's situation's a little bit different. For us, we're just the full-time RV travel nurse family, and so that's what I'm explaining to you guys and what I know about. So obviously one of the benefits to a travel nurse is they make pretty good money. My wife makes now at least as much as we were both making together working full-time, which is awesome because it's allowed us to go and explore and see stuff we've never seen before. In between our contracts, you know, we were taking anywhere from 1.5 months to 2 months off between the next contract because we were able to save up. And our whole thing is we do want to buy a house, but we want to share this whole experience with our kids. We want them to go have fun. We want them to be able to travel around, see things that they'd normally never be able to see. I mean, my kids have been places where most kids aren't going to go, because most kids are just going to be stuck home in their hometown, whatever. And yeah, you might go on vacation here and there. And, you know, we're not on vacation. This is a living. Like our saying is, we're not camping, we're living. Because we are. I just have a different yard occasionally, you know. So it just depends on where we're at and what we got going on. But there is so many fun, exciting things to take the kids to and go explore and see. And wow, that's the biggest thing for me. Because I want my kids to be able to look back and like they're going to remember these days. They're going to remember these years that we've been doing this and all the fun things that we've done, all the places that they've been to, whether it's educational or not. They're having a good time. They're learning. They're seeing new things, getting hands-on. And that's really what I like. So in my opinion, this is just my opinion, this full-time RV living travel nurse life that we've been doing the last couple years, it's opened up a lot of doors, and it's made us see a lot of the country and a lot of things that we would have never saw if we would have just been stuck to our regular 9-to-5s, coming back home to the same house. And I'm just, I'm not all about that. I mean, we're only here one time, right? I want to go see stuff. So this has been a great adventure for us. You know, my wife, even surprisingly, you know, she's, for the most part, I'd say 80%, she's enjoyed it and had a good time. Now there is that 20% for her that, you know, she does get tired being in the RV. It is a smaller living situation. You know, it depends on where we're at for hookups. Like if we're somewhere and it's the middle of summer and it's 100 degrees outside, you know, if we have full hookups, 50 amp power, we can run both our ACs and all that stuff, and it's not bad. But if we're somewhere where it's like a 30 amp hookup, we can only run one of our ACs. So there's a lot of things to consider if you're thinking of doing this in an RV, and being prepared, because being prepared is what's key for the RV. Now, travel nurse jobs are definitely not for everybody. Like if you're one of those persons that's like, you like your routine, you're like stuck in your certain ways, it's like you like doing this, and then you know, like in your little comfort zone, right? Travel nursing is not for you then, probably, because you're going to be out of your comfort zone. You're going to be places you've never been before. You're going to be with people you don't know, never met before. You might get stuck in a contract where you can't stand your coworkers or you can't stand the job. Well, we've never canceled a contract. I'm not 100% sure how easy or hard that would be. We did do some research and see like, hey, what would happen if we had to break this contract for whatever reason? Well, it depends on the company you're going through, the travel agency. It depends if they're giving you housing. If they're giving you housing, we were reading on some of them that you have to repay them for the housing if they offered it. Now, there's a difference between a agency providing housing and the facility providing housing. The facility normally has an apartment complex or somewhere in the facility for you to stay, and typically, from what we've heard from other people and what we've read, if you have to cancel a contract, those type of situations you don't have to pay. But if you got housing through the agency was actually paying for your housing, then you will have to repay. So that's something to consider if you're thinking about taking housing from an agency or from the facility, because it does make a difference. And a little sneak peek into what's coming up in some future videos. We're at a contract now where actually they're providing, the facility is providing my wife with an apartment. But how does that work? We're living full-time in the RV, me and the kids and the dogs, and my wife has an apartment? What? Well, you're just gonna have to stay tuned for that video, because this has opened the door to all kinds of extra excitement now that the school's out and everything. So I want to share it with you, but that's in an upcoming video. So please stay tuned for that. So if you're someone who's thinking, yes, the full-time nurse traveling position would be something you would enjoy, something you want to do. You need to figure out how you're going to do it. Are you going to be like us and you're going to be doing it in an RV? Or are you going to be going and looking for housing? Now, they don't all provide housing. So if you're getting a contract in so-and-so state, let's just say Texas, and they don't provide housing, well, you have to get your housing then. Now, what we found out, because they mention it, is a lot of the facilities will have a list of rental places, apartments, or people that are looking to share a room, things like that. So we've been offered lists before. My wife said, no, we travel with my family in an RV and all that, so I don't need that. But that is available for you if you are traveling. Now, what we have found is it's not for your family. So if you have a family and you're going to travel, you're going to have to figure out, you might have to rent a house temporarily, like an Airbnb, which we've looked into that just to see, you know, in certain situations. So you're going to have to do some research on that end and see. For us, it made sense with the RV. We already had an RV. We upgraded our RV, got something bigger, and it fits our lifestyle and what we're doing and what I've been used to doing. But might not be yours, might not be the thing for you, and you might not want to stay in an RV or any of that stuff. So you're going to have to figure out housing. Rent a house, rent an apartment, share a room, do your research, because that could take a big chunk of your money. If you're thinking, hey, I got this awesome job, it's $3 grand a week, this is going to be great. Well, then you find that the only thing available is an Airbnb that's $1,200 a week to go rent. You're not making any money then, right? So it's like there's a lot to consider, and you need to do your research. Research, because that's what we have done, and we found the ways that have worked for us financially and what's made it work for us. I mean, you got to have fun, you got to be happy, you got to enjoy what you're doing, and that's what we're doing. So research, do your own research, find out where you're going to stay, what you're going to do. But one thing I would say, if you're considering this and you've been thinking about it for a while, just jump in and do it, because you know what? You only live once. You're never going to know. If you don't do it and you're always going, man, I wish I would have tried that, you're never going to know unless you try. That's what I've figured out with life is, hey, you know what? Unless you actually go try it and do it, you're never going to know. There's always going to be this what ifs. What if I did this? What if I did? Anyways, just go do it. See if you like it. If you don't, you can always go back. You know, if it's something you want to try, go take one contract somewhere. See if you like it. You might not like it. You might love it. But until you do it, you will never know. But I just wanted to share with you guys a little bit of info on the whole travel nurse thing and how our situation is traveling with the RV, if it's something you're considering. There's a lot of benefits to it. You know, you are going to have to give up some things. You're going to have to get used to being in a smaller environment if you're traveling in an RV. But there's a lot of fun things that come along with it too. So stay tuned for our next video, because I'm going to share with you our situation that we have going on right now and what me and the kids are doing while Mom's staying in an apartment. And we have free range in the RV. What are we doing? Where are we going? Gonna have to stay tuned and watch. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you on the next video.